Hello everyone and welcome to WatchMojo.com. Of course, I'm kidding. It is still very much WhatCulture.com. That was just a little April Fool's from an April Jules right here. But you know what? At this time of year, at April Fool's Day, we all gather around and we have a gentle rib and a few pranks with each other, and it's all done with good humour and good nature for the most part, right? And you know what? Video games, with exception of Duke Nukem Forever, often approach humour with the same mannerisms, just allowing themselves to cut loose and have a bit of fancy-free fun for all the family. Yet you know what? Some April Fool's jokes that have been released, these fake trailers, teasers, and fake leaks, they actually often highlight a problem within the gaming industry that we would actually kind of like solved. So it kind of leaves you standing there just thinking to yourself, God damn, I wish these video game pranks were absolutely real. And you know what? That's the subject of today's list. So with this in mind, I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video game pranks you wished were true. Number 10, the Gayest Pillow, Mass Effect 2. So Mass Effect 2 is one of gaming's most beloved treasures, and with good reason, because its mixture of sci-fi and action is just chef kiss good. And while the shooting and the space were definitely indeed front and center, it was the bonds created with the rich and varied cast that were your crew that truly won over our hearts. As such, it makes sense that the developer would want to create merchandise to celebrate these guys, gals, and garruses, and so we got plushies, t-shirts, and of course, pop figures. However, it seems that BioWare definitely overlooked one aspect, and that was the deep and real love that many fans had for Garrus. I think that they would be very happy with him calibrating their engines, if you know what I'm saying. They want his dick. So of course there were tons of sub-threads all over the world filled with, let's just call it, romantic dialogue choices. Yet this love seemed to be ignored for years by its creators. That is, until on April Fool's Day, an image of a Gayest Pillow hit the scenes. And who wouldn't want to cuddle with this? And after doing the rounds, BioWare finally actually responded and said, you know what, we're going to do one better. You're not just getting a Gayest Pillow, you're getting a full-size body pillow. Ugh. Although, to be fair, for how hard it actually is to get hold of one online, many people still think that this is actually still a ruse, unless they've actually done this so cleverly that it was an April Fool's response to an April Fool's, which itself was an April Fool's joke. Moving on before my brain explodes. Number 9, Corsairs game launcher. So I think that we'll all agree that one of the biggest banes being a PC player is just the copious amounts of video game launchers that you have to have at your disposal. It seems that every first party wants to keep their games locked within their game launchers, and it can just create an absolute quagmire of trying to sift through all of the different ones and them not linking up, and it's a nightmare. Oh, poor me, PC user. This has led many PC players to ask for a program or a hub that would collect everything in one place and streamline the process. And oddly enough, it looked like Corsair was going to be the one to answer the call, releasing a trailer for their new game launcher. And you know what? The trailer was actually pretty on the money. It pointed out the problems such as, how do you return online purchases with different providers? They've got their own unique return store policies for each and every one. And about the absurdity of having to have all of these game launchers when it would make much more sense to have them all in one space. And yet, it wasn't real. Oh. Therefore, you can imagine how upset people got when they were told that it was all just a joke, pal. I mean, imagine the rage. You've had all of these problems illuminated, and then you're basically being fobbed off with, yeah, it sucks, but what are you going to do? I'll tell you what we're going to do. Boo! The crowd hates that. Boo! Number 8, Meow VR. So while Asus are known more primarily for their laptops rather than their pranks, they did actually put out an especially cruel one a couple of years ago. This all started when they announced Meow VR. And I mean, after all, who doesn't love cats? I mean, the fluffy animals are one of nature's finest creations, and while people can experience the luxury that is video games in VR, felines cannot. Science fact for you there, felines can't use VR. Well, that was, Asus said, until now. Back in 2016, it posted a message to its social media channels outlining how it would be creating a virtual reality experience for cats. Using Meow VR, kittens would be able to experience their wildest fantasies, and there was even a stroking simulator that allowed your cat to experience being stroked without being stroked. I love it. As you can imagine, the internet completely bought into this idea because, it pretty much runs on cats. But if you actually look into it, it's a bit cruel. Imagine strapping on a VR device onto a cat. That doesn't seem very animal friendly. Unfortunately, Ace's hilarious post was no more than a joke. While a lot of us would wish for our furry friends to get all the benefits that VR has to offer, it's probably for the best that they didn't get this. Number 7, Pokemon Kart. So this is actually an example of a person who wasn't a part of either Game Freak or Nintendo, but still managed to use both franchises of Mario Kart and Pokemon to con millions of people. Say hello to Pokemon Kart Wii, a twist on the popular Mario racing game for the same console. And who wouldn't want to play this? And yes, I know the video is very dated, but back then, this was the shit. It begins with Ash casually walking up to a racing track and releasing Pikachu, who then proceeds to compete against a Bulbasaur. And again, yes, I know that the video doesn't hold a candle to what is actually out today, and yes, the game lags, but still, you would want to play this, right? Obviously, this was no more than an April Fool's joke, but it did raise an important question. Why the hell hasn't Mario Kart and Pokemon actually ever had a crossover? At least give me some color options for my car so I can make the pun that I'm driving a Charizard. Number 6, Eevee coming to Tekken. Another entry, another Pokemon prank, although this one actually kind of makes a little bit more sense, but also at the same time it makes much less sense. I'll try and explain. So fighting games have had a long tradition of importing characters from other titles, and it has created some phenomenal moments to say the least. Smash Brothers, for example, has destroyed any concept of who is safe from Nintendo's mighty grasp. But I can think that none of us would have ever predicted that Eevee would have been going to Tekken. But in 2018, Eevee was everywhere. New Japan Pro Wrestling apparently said that it was going to be part of the roster, and then all of a sudden after this, it was announced that Eevee was going to be joining Tekken as a DLC pack. And this is the thing, it was actually quite easy to believe it for the most part, because of the fact that, remember, Pokken Tournament had released a few years prior, and they'd shown that the crossover between Pokemon and fighting games could happen. So a lot of people really wanted this to exist, even as weird as it would be. But then again, Tekken does have animal fighters, so maybe I'm talking out of my rectum. But the thing is that it all fell apart when people started to actually look at the date of this DLC's release, which was going to drop in the year 2100. If I'm still alive, I promise you I'll check back in, but I won't be. Number 5, Omega, the smart home assistant. So I know what you're thinking. What could be better than waking up each and every day with a home assistant that was dedicated to your destruction? Yeah, even as I said that sentence out aloud, a lot of things seem better. I would just be happy if something made me coffee and a bagel in the morning. However, this was the exact pitch that Final Fantasy developer Square Enix offered fans with their latest smart home assistant that was going to rival the likes of Amazon Alexa and Google Home. Now, to be fair, the trailer is as hilarious as it is absurd, with family members posing various queries to Omega and it delivering, let's just say, less than helpful answers, and even ends with a wave cannon attack when asked to turn off the TV. But here's the thing though, it's far funnier than any other assistant on the market, so if they did actually manage to capitalize on that, they probably would have had a smash hit on their hands. Plus, the design is actually pretty cool. And this is the thing, I know that the destructive capabilities would be toned down for health and safety reasons, but at the same time, if it could destroy the competition quite literally, then you might want to get on board pretty quick. Number 4, Assassin's Creed for Kinect. Now this one is likely to hit home quite hard, because who amongst us wouldn't want to play Assassin's Creed with Kinect capabilities? And one prankster duped, or at the very least nearly fooled, 5 million people into thinking that this dream was alive and kicking back in 2012. As someone uploaded a video to YouTube in which a group of friends or family members were gathered around taking it in turns to live out their dreams of being a real-life assassin. Now the people in the video hilariously try to draw imaginary bows. There's a bit where they're like trying to parkour and push people and doing fake stabbing animations, but the best bit is this woman here who's just crouching down pretending to hide in some hay. Fantastic. Now, it's clearly a joke when somebody gets thrown through a table, but just imagine how good this would have been. It's just a shame that it probably would never have worked. I mean, the amount of technical requirements for it, and the fact that Assassin's Creed was a bit finicky in those times with its controls at the best of times, probably would have made for an absolute disaster. I mean, does anyone else remember that game? What was it called again? Is it not Full Metal Jacket, but it was the Steel Commander? Steel Battalion, the one where you've got like all the buttons on the massive controller, but then they put it all into Kinect and it was an absolute show. Good on you, Microsoft. Anyway, all of that came crashing back to reality that unfortunately couldn't be cushioned with a simple cart of hay. Number 3, PlayStation Flow. Now, this prank isn't actually necessarily cruel, but it's something that highlighted something that you would definitely want if it was real, but never actually knew you needed. That being swimming VR. God, it sounds weird to say. With the mock video PlayStation Flow, it revealed cutting-edge technology that allowed players to wear gear and swim underwater while it connects back to their PlayStation. And the aim was to drastically improve the immersive experiences of swimming in video games. And it's utterly ridiculous, right? But at the same time, you definitely would want to try it out, right? I mean, yes, it would only be useful for very specific parts of very specific games, but at the same time, it would be utterly fantastic. I mean, I definitely would crap my pants every time I would go swimming in, say, like GTA 5 and see a shark. But still, that would be totally worth it. Number 2, Half-Life 3. Right, okay, first off, how good was the Half-Life Alyx VR thing? Woof. No spoilers, but I am now immediately turning my head back to the franchise and saying, where's my Half-Life 3? Where's my Half-Life 3? Where's my Half-Life 3? Where's my Half-Life 3? Somebody do a remix of that. Where's my Half-Life 3? Where's my Half-Life 3? Where's my Half-Life 3? Where's my Half-Life 3? Yes, Half-Life 3, the game that will never be, or at least in the form that we were all expecting for years. And you know what? It doesn't help when Valve routinely took the piss out of its fan base with promises that it was just on the horizon. And yet, back in 2012, there was one slight brief glimmer of hope that it would actually happen, because it was updated that it was going to be announced as an upcoming title on Steam. And then it was retracted. And then it was turned out that it was an April Fool's of an April Fool's. Again, one of those meta in-game things. And god damn it, Valve, I laughed, but through tears, very salty tears. And so once again, we return to wait it out. At number 1, Deliver Rune. So in 2019, Jagex, the makers of RuneScape, decided to put out an April Fool's that was topical and also pretty brilliant. In an era where ordering food for delivery couldn't be simpler, it decided to run a gag centered on Deliveroo for its game, and the service was called Deliver Rune. And what it would basically be is that your character in-game could go and prepare some food, and it would place an order, and you would get the real-life food delivered to your house. That is brilliant. Similarly to how you can track a Domino's order, the character is able to keep an eye on the progress of their order while still going out and being able to slay the monsters that inhabit the game's world. Now yes, while it is overplayed and quite lazy a joke to say that all gamers love pizza, I do love pizza, and I would definitely use this service. Why has no one actually tried to integrate this before? We've done product placement before. This is the next logical step. Final Fantasy had an entire mission revolving around cup noodles. If that allowed me to get a coupon to get free cup noodles, or they would send a pack to my house if I sent a thing to them, make it happen. I'm incentivized by food, as are most people. And now I'm hungry. Thanks. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 video game pranks that you wished were true, but unfortunately they were just out of our grasp. But I hope that you enjoyed it still, and let me know what other ones you would have put on your list down below, because who knows, I might return to do this as a commented edition next year. It's a long wait, but I promise you it'll be worth it. As always, I've been Jules, so you can go follow me at RetroJ with a 0 over on Twitter. But before I go, I want to say one thing, and that is sometimes our minds, no matter how well equipped we think we are for a situation, can play pranks on us and tell us that we are not worth that much. But I want to sit, all of those things here right now and say to you that you deserve love happiness and success. We all do as humans. Don't let your brain tell you you are worthless, because you are not. With friends, family, professionals in the support industry, if you're having troubles, speak to people and get that energy and that self-confidence back in you. Because I believe in you. You're a massive ledge. Now, I would normally say go out there and smash it, but given the circumstances of the current things going on right now, stay in and smash it just as hard. You big ledge. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.